Good morning, good afternoon, and good morning, folks. Welcome back to Pokémon Draft. Yep, that's right. I'm back to draft. And instead of just your average Gen 9 draft or Gen 9 National Dex draft on Showdown, we're going back in time to the 3DS with an Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon draft. That's right, folks. I've joined the YPA for their first season in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Draft. Now, for those of you who don't know what Draft League is, a Draft League is where individuals, also known as coaches, take turns drafting teams of unique Pokemon and battling each other weekly until one coach is crowned the champion. As previously mentioned, the draft format is Generation 7, also known as Ultra Sun and Moon. Coaches get 110 points to draft a minimum of 10 to a maximum of 12 Pokemon. Now, of course, with the generational gimmick not being terrestrialization, it is now the Z crystals. We are allowed Z captains that must be 15 points below and have to use 3 crystals, 1 stab, and 2 other types of whatever we choose. And we'll have up to 5 of them. I will go into depth on why I chose these Pokemon and why I chose the specific crystals, stuff like that. Now, before we get into the actual meat into it, before we actually get into like what I actually drafted, first I want to go for my criteria. This list below, whenever I draft, I have to follow by this rule. Have to have a balance core, defense core, all the way down. Now, I'm not going to go through each example and show why I chose this Pokemon, like each reason, but I am just going to give just a little reasoning for why the underlined ones are the most important. Priority is extremely important, being able to just outspeed literally anything. You could be a Deoxys speed and a Pikachu with quick attack is faster than you. If you're at 1 HP, you're done. Stealth Rock is extremely important in this generation since there is no heavy duty boots. Every Pokemon takes damage from rocks, regardless of what type they are. Unless you have like Magic Guard or other things like that, but blah blah blah, we don't care. And Stealth Rock is really important. 2+ speed tiers above 110. Being able to speed creep Pokemon that are slower than you allows you to have more EVs. You can more tailor your EVs into other things. Like you can outspeed a Pokemon and then have more into your bulk. Stuff like that. Extremely important in this draft. Ground immunity. We have Landorus Incarnates, Landorus Therians, Garchomps. I can't think of any other ground types that are extremely strong off the Zygars. We have Zygardes. And having a ground immunity just to Earthquake, more so Earth Power, high horsepower, stuff like that, is really important because losing to Earthquake is insanely sad, and we don't like that. Grounded Poison. You can lose to Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes are entry hazards where non-poison and steel-type Pokemon get poisoned upon entry, and for the most part, the average Pokemon cannot get rid of that poison, get rid of being poisoned. So having a Pokemon to absorb the Toxic Spikes is extremely important. Knockoff being an important move in this game. Removing an item, it's still a really strong move as well. Can be easily spammed, extremely important. And then last, a fast taunt and encore user. It's mainly to stop setup, because people can get set up and easily 6-0'd. It's really easy to get 6-0'd without something to stop setup. But yeah, that's the criteria for draft. Now let's get into the actual draft itself. And for my first pick, I chose Tornadus Therian. Now, why would I choose Tornadus Therian? Number one, it's fast. It has Encore, it has Stab Hurricane, Stab Air Slash, U-Turn, Knockoff, Heat Wave, Superpower, Focus Blast. It has an insane move pool, it's fast, it can regenerate HP, it can be really bulky, it can be really strong, it can be a sweeper. Tornadus is insanely good Pokemon. Now we need a Pokemon to capitalize off of the flying type, the ground immunity, and start a fire water grass core. So I chose the ×4 weak, the ground, good bulky pairing with Heatran. Also, the fire immunity that Heatran has is insanely good as well. Fire and Steel being an insane type, with most of the weaknesses, fighting and ground being resistant by Torn. And Heatran can also take the ice type, the electric types, and for the most part the rock type moves that Tornadus is weak to. Really good. Now we gotta draft my favorite Pokemon of all time, the bulky water behemoth, water fairy type, Azumarill. Now why would I draft Azumarill? Azumarill has priority, huge power Aqua Jets, really strong Pokemon. It's insanely bulky. Like 100 HP and 80 in both defenses is really good for it being able to take hits. It can run Choice Band, Assault Vest, can even sweep with Belly Drum, maybe? But I'm not counting on that one. It also works well with Heatran, because Heatran can take the electric and grass moves that Azumarill is weak to. Yeah, it's insanely strong. Next up, we got Komodo. Next up in the draft is Komodo. Komodo is insanely versatile with 3 incredible abilities that have the ability to block various things. Bulletproof can block moves like Shadow Ball and Focus Blast. Soundproof can block moves like Boom Burst. And Overcoat can block Spore and damage from hail or sand. It's insanely good. It has a great move pool. Could be a mixed attacker. Could be a bulky Pokemon with like Stealth Rock and Roar. Can set up Dragon Dance. Can set up Swords Dance. Can set up Bulk Up. Special. This is not one of my Z captains because you cannot. One of the rules is you can only have like non-Pokemon specific ones. Because if I could run Komodo Z, I would easily make this my Z captain. Now, let's get into my actual first Z captain, and that's Mamoswine. Mamoswine, insanely strong Pokemon with one of the best type coverages in the game, Ice and Ground. Got the Stab Ice Shard, got the Stab Icicle Crash. Now the 3 Z crystals I chose were Ice, Ground, and Fighting. Ice and Ground Stab type, insanely strong combination of moves. And Fighting is mainly to just hit more Pokemon super effectively. That's it. It's a really bulky Pokemon. Can be insanely bulky if it runs like an Assault Vest to patch up its pretty abysmal special defense. Its base speed is not that good, but it's still pretty good. Insanely strong. I'm really excited to use Mamoswine. If this guy's not a kill leader, then I'm doing something wrong. I have high expectations for Mamoswine. Next up for a Mega, to have even more speed, we have Intimidate, Mega Manectric. Mega Manectric is decently bulky with 70 HP and 80 in both defenses, but what it really does well is it switches in and intimidates and then Volt switches out. It's mainly just it's an insanely good pivot. It comes in, intimidates, and Volt switches out. Comes in, intimidates, Volt switches out. It's like Incineroar if it was fast, and a special attacker and an electric type. It's just insanely good, and I'm excited to use it. Next up for my another Z captain. I also wanted a ghost type, so I chose Delmise. And the reason I made Delmise a Z captain is number 1, it's a really strong Pokemon, 131 attack, and a really good 86 special attack, so maybe I can surprise people with a Shadow Ball or something. But the reason I made Delmise a Z captain is for it to take less damage from knockoff, because knockoff does extra damage if you're holding an item. It doesn't do that if you are holding a Z crystal. And yeah, that's why I chose Dome as the Z Captain. Now, of course, we got the 2 stab types. We also have Steel, because Steel gets boosted damage because of its ability Steel Worker. Really strong Pokemon. Really excited to use it. Also gets access to Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards. Really excited to use it. Next up, we got our Grounded Poison and our Pursuiter, Skuntank. I forgot to change its ability. Its ability is not Regenerator. I don't care about that. It gets like Aftermath. Not that important. But it's a Toxic Spikes Absorber. Can set up its own Toxic Spikes. And can also threaten out Psychic types and Ghost types with its very strong Pursuit off of its respectable 93 attack. It also has fire coverage. It also has like Flamethrower, Fire Blast. I think it can set up a Curse, maybe. I think it also gets Pain Split as well. I'm really excited to use Skuntank. It's a Pokemon that, if not prepared well for, it can put your team in a chokehold. So I'm really excited to use it. Next up, for our 3rd Z Captain, we got Espeon, another Pokemon to help with our speed, another Pokemon above or around 110 base speed. It's a really strong Pokemon with access to an insane ability, Magic Bounce. Every status move, Stealth Rock, Toxic, Thunder Wave, Roar, all moves like that get bounced back to the opponent. It's a really good lead that I'm excited to use. Now the Z Crystal choices, Stab, Psychic of course, Electric, to work with a really strong Zap Cannon, which it has access to. Really strong move that misses a lot, but with Electric and Z, it won't miss because it's a Z. And then Fairy, because Fairy works well with Psychic. Next up, for our final Z Captain, with 7 points remaining, we chose the 3-point Charizard. Now, why is Charizard 3 points, you ask? Well, it's because it takes half from Stealth Rock, of course. It is really sad that Charizard is 3 points, but we gotta utilize it to the best of our abilities. It's a fire type that is immune to ground because of its flying type. Really good. Another Z Captain, as I previously mentioned, got the 2 stab types and Normalium Z because it has access to Giga Impact. It also has access to Hyper Beam, and then the power gets increased exponentially, so it's like a 200 base power normal move that does a lot of damage off of its respectable attack and special attack. And finally, for our last Pokemon of the draft, we got Togedemaru. Now, why would I draft Togedemaru? Because Togedemaru is an insanely good pivot, insanely underrated pivot. It has access to Fake Out, Spiky Shield, U-Turn, Wish, Zing Zap, Iron Head. Also has access to Wish, which is a really underrated move. It has 3 insane abilities. Iron Barbs, which is, the Ferrothorn ability, can tank like a move that doesn't take, it can take a U-turn and chip its opponent. It has the immunity to electric type of moves with Lightning Rod, can pair well with like Torn, or Charizard, or a Azumarill, who are weak to electric. And it also has Sturdy, which could be a really good lead, and can set up like Wishes, and Protect, and then bring it back to full HP, and then go back to 1. Really excited to use Togedemaru. Hope that I actually am able to bring it, and it puts in the work, because I want to see this Pokemon shine. I'm really excited to use Togedemaru. And that is it. That is the Nashville Primals' team for the YPA. I'm really excited to use it. Most of these Pokemon are Pokemon I don't use that often, barring Azumarill and Heatran. Azumarill, Heatran, and Torn. Those 3 are Pokemon I use a lot. Everyone else are Pokemon I don't use that much. So I'm really excited to see the work that they put in. And if they do bad, they are off the team. I feel no sympathy for useless players. But yep, that is going to be it for the Nashville Primals, week 0 of the YPA, just a draft recap. But, actually, I think I can give you guys a little sneak peek for our week 1. That's right, folks. Week 1, we got the Nashville Primals versus the Fairfield Fairthorns. Coached by Mental Mark. That's right. For my first week, I have to go up against the commissioner of this draft league. Folks, stay tuned for that battle. See you later, folks.